we're going to see what's going to happen here. We got a lot of work to do. I'm going to put about a half a bottle of CLR in here because the new grill is rusty and this needs to soak. I think that'll probably be enough. This stuff is extremely acidic and I'm trying to go the lazy route as much as I can. I've got baking soda, gloves, other stuff, but you can see just how rusty this is. I didn't even want to take it and like try to break it down. I just want to put it in and let it do its thing and soak. Does that come off? Looks like it's rusted on there. There it goes. I'm also trying to minimize getting the stuff on me as much as possible. The CLR is exceedingly caustic. There we go. Okay, that's going to help me with some of the cleaning. Let me get some of this off of my hands and get the gloves on. It's just to keep the bulk off. I expect to get dirty doing this. I even put on kind of old funky clothes. Man, those gloves are hot. I also wanted to be in the light so I could see a little bit better. This bottom piece looks like it comes out, but is it hooked? Wow, that's actually really convenient. I've never seen this. It's got like a little handle here. Let me figure out how I want to dispose of this. So I've got those. I think I'm going to put it in a trash bag. There's some briquettes and a little bit of stuff in there. I'm going to take a brush and a little dustpan, try to scoop some of this stuff up. It doesn't have to be exceedingly clean, it just has to be better than it is. Let me get a trash bag from inside so I can dispose of this easy. So yeah, trying to make this as easy as possible. I knew this was going to be a chore, and it's 100 damn degrees outside, so let me get the bag open and see if I can just make easy disposal of all this ash, leftover charcoal. Whew, miner's lung. Man, it's cleaning up real super nice. Like, it's just a lot of dust and yeah. Now, this is the not so fun part, but I try to do this in small batches to make it easier so that the grilling process is more fun. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys have ever gardened, but I like looking at seed catalogs. I don't like weeding. So I do my best to maintain and make sure I don't have to smother weeds, especially in Texas soil. This thing is so much bigger. I just can't believe we're on episode, I think this will be 7, and I've got a new grill already. I'm like, how do I just find this on the side of the road? Like, it's amazing to me. I will not look down on you if you decide to wear a mask. The CLR says it can soak for 3 to 5 minutes. I'm probably going to go just a little bit longer since I watered it down some. Whew. This will come off too. I may have to get a wrench and like pull those nuts off and then detach that so I can soak that as well. This is one of those things, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this on here or not. I may take this off and clean it separately because I'm a little concerned when I got the grill plates down that it's not going to give me quite enough clearance for a nice brisket. I might take this down temporarily and then see what I can do without it. If I want to add it back, it's easy enough to just attach these and then add that back on. That's pretty easy mechanically. Even I can handle that. But trying to clean it once well so I don't have to do it again and again, if at all possible. It's not perfect, but I think that's good, just getting the ash out of the bottom. It also gives me a chance to just see what I'm working with. I think that's probably going to work. My hands are sweaty. Let me go ahead and I'm going to use the same CLR. I think I'm going to detach this first. Yeah, it looks like I can do that. Screwdriver, socket set. I think I'm going to detach that and clean it, and then the rest of this I can take a look if I want to use some baking soda, maybe some water. I don't know the bottom, I just don't think it needs to be cleaned much. Maybe around the rim here. The top of it doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's a little dirty, but it's going to get tons of smoke. I think this needs to come off though. I want to deal with that first. Well, I've never been much of a mechanic, but the more I do, the easier it gets. And I'm trying to see what's going to be the easiest way to get these disconnected to clean this top piece. Huh. Do I have a pair of pliers? Let me grab one. That CLR, that stuff is like oozing in there. Hopefully that's doing its job, because I don't want to clean all that by hand and have to scrub and scrub. It looks like I can reach in there, hold this on one side, and then maybe from here okay, that piece is certainly disconnected. It looks like I'm gonna, does the end come off right there? I also have my reading glasses on because I can't see shit up close. There we go. Oh, don't lose that. Okay, hold on. Time to get fingers dirty. Yep. Okay, that can go in the CLR. Clean that off though. Let me see if I can get this one out. There we go. I'm going to put the nuts and bolts on one side, let it clean so I know which side it goes to. So I can put it back on. And again, this doesn't need to be spotless. I mean, it's a grill. It's going to get a lot of smoke and shit on it. There we go. And then to detach this guy right there. I'm glad whoever did this did not screw this shit on so tight it's hard to pull apart. Makes it a whole lot easier just to do maintenance. There we go. All right, that side is done. Pick up my tools. I'm gonna put that on the same side so I know which is which. The far side. Ooh, I'll just put it like that so I can see it later. Then we'll get to the other. This is the fun that you guys wanted in the cooking show. Okay, right there. Well, you will turn, thank God. Pretty easy so far. Nope, let's see. Line that up a little better. There we go. Makes it a little bit easier. Okay. Yep, okay, we got that one off. It's gonna go on the opposite side. Should be able to get this with my hands. And if you can't see it, sorry, it's hard to get these camera angles in here. It's taking some screws off, guys. And again, the top, it doesn't look really bad. Like, it doesn't look like it was heavily used. I was really amazed to find this on the curb. I mean, this was just trash, guys. Something that the neighbor put out. There we go. And we're gonna put that on this side. And then one more right here. Side, gotta make sure not to lose any of those. And this guy detached. I think I should be able to fold it up that way. Is that gonna fit? Shit, I might have to do one side at a time. This, I might put a little bit of baking soda and some scrub right here. It's just on the edge. And yeah, I think that pretty much does it. I don't think I need much more than that. The rest of it is just like super basic. There's just nothing on here that I'm worried about. I mean, if you wanted to, I guess you could CLR the whole damn thing, but it's gonna wind up being dirty anyway, you know what I'm saying? Let me see, there's a sponge here. See if I can wipe some of that out of the back. I was watching stuff and they were saying, oh, clean it without chemicals. And I'm like, oh, that's fucking rusty, man. I'm not going to fight that. Especially this first time. Get that shit off of there. I don't want to have that in my food. little bit of soapy water. All right, I think that is pretty good. Let me see here. If I squeeze that out, just one last little pass, just get that soap off. There we go. But that's going to dry super fast. I'm not worried about a little bit of moisture. Let me wash my hands. I'm going to come out and get the gloves back on, and then we're going to see if I can get to those grill plates and start scrubbing. Gloves on. I did wash my hands, but I wasn't worried about soot. I just don't want to get the CLR on my hands. This stuff is extremely caustic and acidic. I just want that CLR to do the job so I don't have to spend all goddamn day degreasing that. Oh, that's gross. Oh, that's gross. I'm trying to think about how I want to do this. I think I'm just going to put it over the edge here, and I'm going to scrub along this. Just going to put some stuff on the concrete, but oh yeah, no, that's coming right off as I wanted. I'm going to give you a visual what this looks like from one to the other. It's got some grass on it, but this is the one we just cleaned. And this is one of the dirty ones. Oh my God, it's disgusting. Yeah, that's just so much cleaner. That CLR did a really great job. I'm just going to leave that there to dry. I'm going to go ahead and keep cleaning these up, and going to clean that up as well. We'll show you how we put it back together. We have grill number 2, and not bad for on the side of the road. One of the neighbors put this out. I had to clean it, of course. You'll see that in the same video. It's just a little bit earlier. They had a little bit of rust on this side where the air control is. I put a little CRLR on that. I went ahead and cleaned the grates, and then this morning I put them in the sink with some baking soda and scrubbed them again and then soaped them, rinsed it off well, and then went inside. I coated it with some avocado oil. I'm just going to have them seasoned in place. These are going to get cleaned and seasoned again and again and again, so I wasn't too concerned about a little bit of red pigment, or, as long as there's no chunks of rust in my food, I'm good. This gives us a lot more real estate to work with. I'm super excited to be able to do this. I looked this guy up online just now. This is $179 brand new. We got it for free. I'm gonna open this up and see how these little rib steaks or whatever are doing. Looks pretty good. I'm using pecan this time. It's not super hot, but it's got a little color to it. Let me go ahead and turn those. And I'm doing these a little bit more direct. The coals are over here. We got a lot more real estate to work with. I'm going to be able to put a brisket over here. So let me scoot these over just a little bit, just because of the color. It looks like the coals are a little bit more this way. And these ribs like this, when they're cross-cut, you can cook these pretty hot and fast. You could be pretty mean to them. All I did was put some kosher salt on the outside. I'm gonna pepper it when it's done, but I just wanted the coals to get started because I hadn't worked on this before. I'm gonna put the burgers over to the side here in just a minute. Now that that's going, I'm going to go ahead and put these burgers over here. Again, I'm going to have to take some time getting used to all this real estate. I'm not used to having all this. I did take the ash dispenser. I don't know what to call it. Whatever the thing is at the bottom that catches all the ash. I went ahead and we have like a little chimney right here, a little outdoor chimney. Yeah, just outdoor fire pit. And I went ahead and used the poker to like reach down in there and just scrape some of that out. That's gonna have to be cleaned again and again, so I'm not overly worried about it. But man, all this at the same time, No challenges? Are you crazy? These will also shrink up just a little bit as they cook, but now I don't have to worry about it. Have to close that up and let it go. It's interesting because I'm left-handed, and it looks like this is like, it feels like it's arranged for a right-handed person. Guys, I have a place to hang my tongs. I put this about 50% and I put this about 50% once it got rolling. I'm gonna open this up. I did flip these once, you didn't get to see that. Let me flip these and see how it's doing. Oh yeah, these are almost done. I could pretty much pull them right now. Depends on how like rare-ish you want them or how much grill marks you like. Now that the juices are falling in, it's also that fat is falling on the coals and starting to catch. It tends to make it flame up. I wanted these direct. I want these indirect and just let them keep going. Let me close that. Just let it, those wood chunks caught. The charcoal tends to burn very clean at a high temperature, not a lot of smoke. And then wood does the opposite. Wood produces more smoke, which you can see coming out. And you're using that wood smoke just to flavor the meat. I'm actually using pecan this time, decided on that. We're gonna check on these just in a couple of minutes, but I think these are probably about done. And you can see that psh, it's from that fat, the drippings falling off. There we go, some better grill marks. Let me let it go just a little bit longer. The burgers are just starting to turn, but I found that I really like this, cooking them at a low temperature and then flaming them at the end, should I decide to. New free grill. I know it seems like a joke, but I promise you, guys, we were on our way to see Alien Romulus. We were early. We were at least 45 minutes. Like, we had 15 minutes, like, give or take. And I saw this and was like, you have to stop now. That is going to be gone. We immediately opened the back of Cece's car, threw it inside, and drove home. It was like, I absolutely could not believe, like, we're on episode, is this 7? And this is what I've got? Like, it's a huge amount of real estate to be able to do this. I've got a plate for these, and I think, yeah, that'll fit there. Let me let that develop just a little bit. I don't mind that temporarily. Just a little bit of sear. I'm used to cooking these in a pan, which I'll usually cook them with butter or just a little bit of tallow. I know that the smoke is probably going to be a great addition to these. These little flanking ribs, or whatever you call them, are just amazing to me. If you're a carnivore, this is something definitely you should check out. You think of ribs as being exceedingly tough, but the way this is sliced makes you peer into beef in a different way in terms of the way that meat is sliced and how it changes its texture when you try to consume it. I keep running outside thinking I don't have my equipment, but I keep forgetting that's right here. The temperature on this is pretty good. This has some water inside the thermometer. I'm not sure if this is working or not. We'll have to work on that. And these look like they're doing quite well. Those coals are doing. I don't think I'm gonna have to add any more pecan to that. I think that's gonna be enough. And as usual, I'll talk about my burger recipe. I always do this. Actually, I think this one I can get closer. The coals are a little bit more this way, so I can put that one over there. But the burgers wound up being, this time I used 5 pounds of ground beef, just salt and pepper. Probably like a tablespoon of salt for 5 pounds. And then just fresh cracked pepper, probably a couple tablespoons. I did use 2 eggs and just mix it up. I always find, and if you don't or haven't seen the other episodes, I always find it does better if I make it in advance. And let me close this just a little bit. A little bit better right there. I always find the texture improves when I add a couple of eggs and knead it, work it into patties, and then leave it in the fridge for a while. There's something about leaving it as a patty that like makes it hold its shape better in my experience, and I've done that many times, and it's almost foolproof at this point. I'm gonna let this keep going. Those coals are good and hot. That's still getting plenty of smoke. There's a huge chunk of pecan in there. If I need to add more, I can, but totally awesome. And get away from my beer, you flies. I am super excited. I did make donia last night and today, strained it out again. I made cucumber sauce with some lemon juice and the yogurt that I had left over. I'm gonna have that with the burgers for dinner. We're still having leftovers from our chicken from the other day, the other episode. And then the brisket, I'm gonna show trimming the brisket and getting it ready. We'll figure out how we're gonna use it. I mean, we can just slice it up and eat it, of course, but we got 6-7 pound brisket. I don't know, I have to look and see. It was pretty heavy. I'm gonna go ahead and just let these keep cooking and get the color that I want, and then we can put them on our sheet pan. I sliced up some cheese, however poorly, and I cannot read this, but I'm pretty sure it's saying it's over 300. And those coals have, whew, it took them a while to catch, but man, once that fat caught, it really took off. There we go. Scoot these in so I can put this cheese on, kind of push them together. There we go. Let that hang. Now the cheese was like from a brick that I had like grated, so it's like chunks here and there, but I used the cheese slicer to get it as thin as I could. I just find it melts a whole lot better if I do it this way as opposed to melting it on later. Gonna do about half, I think, with the cheese. It doesn't have to be beautiful, just has to go on the burger. Whew, man, that fat just made that shit catch. Yeah, we're gonna close that up and let it keep going. I mean, I could hear that fat almost like bubbling in there. Whew. As you can tell, I've already eaten about half of these. Oh my God. So good. It's even better with the wood smoke. Almost there. You got a drip down over here. Let me cover that or put something underneath to catch it. I just wanted to cook something on it to get a sense of how it cooks before I put the brisket on. You're gonna get to see me trim the brisket, talk about that, and then some various things I want to do to work with it, monitor it. I've only cooked a brisket once or twice, I think, and I've done okay. I don't think it's going to win any barbecue awards, but this has enough real estate where I think I can do it. The other grill was small enough. I felt like it'd be a little too close to the flame. Just a touch more, and I think those are done. Holy moly. The grilled burger with the pecan is going to go great with the cucumber. The leftover donia, I mixed with a little bit of the fresh. I'm going to eat some of that. Super hot and tasty. The new batch, I added a little bit more oil and I think a little bit more garlic, and it punched me a little bit. We'll see what happens. Usually when it sits, the donia kind of mellows a little bit as it sits, and I can usually get one of those for 2-3 weeks to continue to be good in the fridge. The cucumber sauce has never lasted long enough for me to find out how long it'll last. Yeah, I didn't think about a drip pan. There was a hole at the bottom. I'm assuming it's designed to do that, to allow it to drip. If you had all that oil and fat that just dripped to the bottom, it would probably heat up, catch flame, like cause a fire hazard. Let's see how we're looking. Yeah, that's gonna do it. That's good. Just wanted it to melt on. It'll make a huge infernal mess if it melts through the grates and sticks, but this is pretty much designed to be able to take that stuff on and off, to be able to clean it. And don't worry, these are going to get scrubbed again before we put the brisket on. Oh yeah. Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Do you ever complain that somebody put cheese on your burger? Why'd you put all this cheese on my burger? I can't imagine somebody complaining about that. I'm gonna go ahead and close this and then put that down. And this will close as well. Cutting off that airflow is gonna make it stop heating to such a high temperature. And these are going inside. All right, guys, we got our work cut out for us. I'm gonna go over some of this with you so you can get an idea. I'm gonna slide on my gloves because we're about to get dirty. And like a good entrepreneur, I may have bit off more than I can chew for a single day, but we're gonna try this out. So I went the extra mile. We want to document the process. I went ahead and took this and like sanded some of the rust down. I've still got a little bit of rust on this plate right here, so I'm going to take that off. We're trying to attach the side box smoker. It's going to take me a little bit of time. I got a brisket inside that's thawing. It was frozen. We're going to trim that up. Brisket goes on tonight. It's going to sit in the oven overnight. And then I think I'll still have plenty of time to go to the store, get stuff for the sides. I'm also doing the following. I'm taking these plates off and I'm going to sand these and stain them and go ahead and seal them and stick them back on. I just want to clean this up and paint it so it's got a little more longevity. We got a good cover for it. Once I attach the box, I believe it'll fit. But we're going to go ahead and paint this guy. I'm going to get some of this rust off from over here. And then this plate, I think, is going to come off and then get some CLR in addition. I just wanted to get a little bit of rust off. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean. That was really not my goal. It was just to clean this up and get the bulk of that off so that the paint will have something to adhere to. We'll spray it on. But we'll go ahead and document that, and we'll see what we do next. I went ahead and took off all the wood, the screws, the bolts. I've saved all that. It's going to get cleaned. All the wood is going to get sanded and stained. It doesn't need that for me to start the cooking process. So I'm going to go ahead and paint this. We're going to have to tape up with some masking tape. There's just a few pieces that you're not going to want to get paint on like this. I could take that off, but I think it's going to be easy enough to just put some tape on it. I went ahead and took the wood off because I figured it'd be easier to just go ahead and clean that as well. It'll feel like whittling wood when I sit down and just drink a beer and sand those and stain them and let them dry before we stick them back on. This side plate has come off. I'm going to go ahead and take the rusty side, which is what faces out. I'm going to paint this. I think this is not going to go back on. I have to check the smoker box assembly and see how that's going to work. But I'm trying to figure out, without taking the wheels off, what I need to tape up. And it helps that I took the wood off because I don't have as much to worry about. I think maybe just this. And then let me take a look. Do I want to take it off, or do I want to go ahead and... You know, it looks like that's easy enough. Let me come in here just to see how tight this is here on. Okay. Now, I'm not so worried about cleaning this, but we might give it a little bit. But if I take that off, it's just going to make the whole process easier because I don't have to tape around it. It's got a little bit of moisture on the inside as well. I don't know what to do about that. I might have to buy a new one of these eventually, but it's still holding temperature. Let me put that down. Now, let me take a look. What do I need to tape up, if anything? What am I going to do with the bottom around the wheels? Because I don't know if I want to take those off. Let me go ahead with the top piece, and then I think I'll worry about that later. I may paint down to about right here and then go ahead and leave that for another time. I don't have any problem doing this in parts, and I also bought a second can of Rust-Oleum, the high temperature paint. You'll see that because I'm going to do the other grill as well. I really want to take care of these and make sure I get as much out of it as I possibly can. Let me go ahead and close this, and I think we're basically ready to start the painting process. This has a little bit of rust. Let me get some sandpaper now that I can see under that. We'll get in there. There we go. I don't have my gloves on, but I should be able to get just a little bit of that out of there. Oh, well, it comes off altogether. Who knew? That'll be easy to reattach. It'll look real nice once it's painted over. This I'm gonna have to cover. I'm not gonna worry about taking that off. I know you can't see with the other camera, but it looks like I can get that to wrap just about right. Yeah, I got that good and covered. Let me squinch that in so it's not getting any of the paint area. There we go. One little more piece, and that might be it. The screws that are still on, I'm not worried about being able to get those off. I just don't think that the paint I'm putting on is so thick that it's going to mess up my capacity to remove those screws later should I decide to do more. Let me get that up in the corner. Let me see, got the screwdriver right here. There we go. So yeah, I think I've got that good and covered. There's a little edge right there, but I don't think that's going to matter. I think that's going to do it for painting the top side, and I think we've mostly gotten the rust off. There's a little bit right there. The pieces that come off, I did put a little CLR on. That plate I scrubbed in the sink. And then right around here, if I can get these. Wow, guys, we might have to check for rain. I'm not going to be able to paint if that's the case. We averted catastrophe. We just had a light. I think it's fine. Not direct sun is going to be great. And I used what I bought, which is this cover. It fits on like a condom, so always use protection, folks. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off, and then we're going to start the painting process. But I covered this in case it did rain. I didn't want to be in a position where I had to bother changing everything at the last minute. I was trying to see if I'd have time to do this, and it looks like it's not going to rain heavily. So I'm just going to take this off and get started here in just a second. I have never worked with this paint before, but it is Rust-Oleum high heat, tough, protective enamel. Resists heat up to 1200. Now, this is only on the outside. I'm not spraying this on the inside. And in fact, because I took this plate off over here, I think I'm going to open this. I want to tape some foil on the inside. I think that's going to be a better way to go. I want to protect the grates on the inside. I don't want to get any paint on that because you don't want it on a surface where there's food actually cooking. The outside is what we're painting. I think I can slide that down along there and then tape it so that it covers this and doesn't allow the paint on the inside. Yeah, that looks better. That's not gonna allow that paint to get all in there. Let me go ahead and tape this on as best I can. Don't have to be perfect, it just has to adhere. We got that covered with the foil. We got this. Looks like everything we're trying to get to is covered well. I'm gonna do this side first because I want this to dry before I connect the smoker box. Oh man, that looks so much better. You could see this in just a second. I put on cruddy clothes. It's almost hard to see where it's at. It dries and then it turns like this almost like gray color. Let me paint you. I'll paint you. Psst. You'll be the same color. All of our extra fat and trim's just gonna go in the pan there. And I got my reading glasses, and we need a knife we can castrate a gnat with, and we went full koozie. Let me see if I can get this open. Pour the drippings off. A little bit of myoglobin. I had some of it leak in the freezer, which I'm not too happy about. I hated to do that to Cece. Oh boy, it has been so long since I have done this. Holy moly, mother of goodness. Ugh. Now, this is not my first rodeo, but this is not old hat for me. This is gonna be funky. We're gonna mess this up, which is my tried and true answer to everything. It's not just fake it till you make it. It's just keep trying until you make it better. So we're gonna trim off some of this decal fat. This is a prime brisket. I went ahead and spent the extra $20 on the prime, and the reason I did was I felt like the extra fat was gonna give me a little bit of a chance to have a margin of error. So I'm just gonna start trimming. You can see this thick fat in here. Again, I am not super used to this, so I'm gonna go slow. I don't feel any need to rush. And listen, anything we're cutting off, this is not being wasted, okay? There's a little bit of meat there, but it's totally fine. Just trying to remove some of that, get that silver skin off of there. And that decal fat, that will not break down typically. That's super thick, and I'll show you what we're gonna do with that over time. There we go. And you can see just the fat line running through there. And I'm trying to save the meat, but that fat is going to get used. We're going to make tallow with it. And as I get down to the inside of this, it's almost frozen. Because we took a break between episodes because I had other stuff to do, and I had to wait till the right time. And then today, god damn it, it's going to rain? What's going on? Like, of all things in Austin. And this looks like a huge mess. I'm going to turn the cutting board around. I got it on a towel so it'll slide just a little bit. It'll be a little bit easier for me to see there. I'm getting a little bit more mean as we go. See, little bits of meat, right? Little bits of meat. Don't worry about that. And I'm going to show you how that's going to get used. Let me come over here. Start to see. I think this is super thin. I think that just needs to be trimmed. And you see that chunk of meat right there? Now, I can take that and trim that out and do other stuff with it. Brisket is a really, really interesting cut for that reason. You can see all this skin right here, to me at least. You are probably at home watching this going, oh my God, what is this guy doing? He screwed it all up. So I'm gonna leave it just like it is right here. I'm gonna get my salt and pepper. It's just black pepper and kosher salt. I didn't add anything else this time. This is my choice. And we're gonna sprinkle that on. It's gonna make a bit of a mess, but I'm not too concerned about it. And probably more than you think you need, because it's gonna cook and smoke. It's 4 o'clock right now. This is probably gonna smoke till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then I'm gonna put it in the oven for the rest of the night. Man, it's been so long since I've done this. Made a little bit of mess on the floor. Let me see if I can get the other side. And you're gonna lose some salt and pepper, don't worry about it. You can always add more if you need it. And in fact, I am going to. I thought I wasn't gonna get through that. But I made it through that and some. And I got a little cut on my finger apparently because I got salt in it. Let me see here. Looking at this, I think I should have left just a little bit more fat up on the flat over here. But that's also why I decided to go with the prime, to give me more margin of error. There's still some on there. I would have trimmed that just a little bit thinner. I'm glad I got the decal fat out. This is going, we attached the box, you didn't see that, but I'm gonna put the point over towards the smoke. I'm gonna put the flat over here and see if that gives me a little room for error. Oh, I'm gonna put that on. And we're just gonna let this start the cooking process. There we go. I'm gonna bring this in and clean up. It's an ungodly mess. We had a little bit of rain. It was just light. Went ahead and painted. Looks absolutely great. I'll get the bottom half of the legs and around the wheels. I may take those off and finish it. That kind of matte black finish. I didn't know if I wanted to go with something silver. I thought it would match the smoker box a little better. And all it is was taking a plate off, unscrewing the nut and the bolt, and putting that on. Perfect. This is exactly why I went ahead and bought this to make it offset. My temperature is about 230, right in there, 250 to 200, somewhere in there, and kind of a range is what they're saying is best. This is going. I'm gonna make sure it's not too hot. I had some coals, and now I've got a couple oak logs in there. I'm just gonna let that keep going. And then we're gonna open this up and show you this. Ooh. So it's starting the cooking process, plenty of salt and pepper. It's just gonna rest. I'm gonna close it back up. I put these other grates here with a little avocado oil just so it could season while it's sitting in there. But I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna work on the boards. Oh, koozie time. It's nice and cool. It didn't, in the heat of the day, it like rained, so it cooled down. I'm gonna put these gloves on to protect my hands. We're gonna go ahead, I just, executive decision. I went ahead and decided to take the boards off and stain them. I'm gonna sand them down good, and then after they're sanded, go ahead and stain them and then put like a gloss coat or something on them. It's not close enough to the fire to make a difference, but I think it's just gonna make it pop. It's gonna make it look nice at the end. I'm super, super happy with how the grill looks. I mean, it looks brand new after that paint. Getting rid of that rust is really gonna help it. And then the good cover I got is like, doesn't let the water in. So it's gonna be able to sit there and go ahead and not let it get soaking wet. So I'm just gonna sand this. trying to get any major spots off. And part of the reason I decided to do this, I'm not going to worry as much about the underside. I think I am going to do that, see, like stain it, but I don't think it's going to get as much wear. It's underneath anyway. But there was one of these boards, I think it's the other ones I got to clean. When I used, not the lump charcoal, but the, I don't know what you call it. It's more the natural charcoal. It's not the briquettes. When I used it, I dropped one on the board and I didn't see it because the briquettes come and they're all uniform. This was just a little piece and it sat there for a minute and like almost burned a mark right there. And I thought about it and I'm like, oh, you could just sand it off. And I'm like, well, if we're doing all this, why don't we sand it and stain it? It is 10 minutes shy of 1 o'clock in the morning. This was smoked for about 9 hours. Looks like it's got good bark. I went ahead and melted down some beef tallow and just saturated the butcher paper with this. I'm gonna wrap it and put a little more beef tallow on the top. And then this is gonna go in the oven at 150 degrees overnight. It's just gonna keep cooking probably till noonish tomorrow, something like that. And then I'm gonna turn it off, just let it sit and rest and get ready for slicing. I think it came out great so far. I did go ahead and freeze 3 bags of cubed up beef fat and then skin. There was a little bit, I think, off of the flat that was trimmed that wound up being a little bit more meat on it. So I'll probably use that for like birria. I froze that separately. And then this, again, is just going to get wrapped and continue to cook. It looks like it's got a pretty good bark. It was smoky. The temperature fluctuation, I'll talk about this a little bit tomorrow. The temperature fluctuation, I had one point where a log caught and it went up to like spike to 400 degrees. It wasn't that way very long, probably just 10 minutes or so. And then I was having some problems regulating the temperature, which is an ongoing issue with brisket. Is trying to keep it at like 225, 250, right in there. Sometimes it was under, sometimes it was over. It was kind of going back and forth, but so far looks pretty damn good. And I think everybody's going to be excited to tear into this tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and fold this up. And let me put a little bit more beef tallow right on top there. I do render my own, and I'll show this over time. A lot of the beef tallow I get, I can purchase fat from a local farm, which is pretty nice because I eat a lot of fat in my diet. Beef tallow is like the main fat that I use for like daily cooking, if you want to call it that. I have a tendency to use this instead of vegetable oil because I try to avoid seed oils as much as possible. Let me put this in a microwave for just a second. Now, this should be a little bit warm. It'll cool as it sits. But that also makes the paper a little bit more malleable. Let me see how hot. Not too bad. Not too bad. Just gonna smear that around, and like I said, I think I'm just gonna cover it in foil. And it's gonna go in the oven. It's gonna cook slowly overnight. And as I cover this in foil, we'll talk about this and what I think is going on. So I did some research online, and they were having conversations about brisket. I was watching tutorials from other guys, and they were talking about, you know, various things they were doing. Oh, also, Tier the dog got into my entire goddamn roll of aluminum foil and was dragging it around the yard. So we'll see if this actually, good Lord, that dog. Oh my God, we did it. So, real quick, One of the things I've had experience with, and I'm going to have to show over time, is I used a sous vide. And sous vide is one of these things that changed the way I was cooking meat. It changed some of my preparation methods, but I literally burned out 2 different sous vides. I've got one that I'm going to try to repair if I can, because I want to be able to document some of that in my cooking as well. It's a really excellent option if you like set it and forget it cooking. This is the stuff you got to play with, tend to, you know, for forever, all night. There we go. And one of the things about sous vide is that's good and wrapped. That's going to go in the oven. It's already preheated. Oh. And there we go. So what happens is sous vide will keep the meat at a certain temperature for a really long period of time. And when I talk about a long period of time, I've cooked the chuck roast at like 135 degrees for like 36 hours. Crazy, because it's in a water bath. It maintains a really constant temperature once that heater gets to a certain level. What happens from there is it changes the nature of the proteins in the meat. It breaks down in a different way. When I talked about the brisket being like a roast, it's just to give you some frame of reference for the tender level that you're going for. The reason they have to cook it at a low temperature for a longer period of time is to get the proteins to denature and then break down, to get the muscle, the fat, the tissue, the connective tissue to like break down so that it becomes tender, even though it's a tough cut. Brisket is just like notoriously tough if you overcook it at a high temperature. So this, at the end, to me, this 150 degrees overnight, holding the brisket or resting the brisket, or however they refer to it, I think this is a super huge deal. You're putting smoke on in the smoker, but you can so regulate this temperature and just keep this brisket at this temperature for so long. It gives you a larger like margin of error. So we're gonna try this out tomorrow. We'll talk more. I did put the bags of fat and that little bit of stew meat that I'll probably use for birria in the freezer. We'll cook with that again soon, but I smell like meat church. The brisket smells great. The bark looked good. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Mashed potatoes were made. Broccoli and cauliflower are steaming. I shredded some mozzarella and Parmesan. That was what Cece wanted. And the brisket. So we sanded, stained, put polyurethane on the wood, sanded and painted the smoker. Absolutely great. In fact, the char grill company that I bought the char grill like smoker box from, the paint on it started to bubble, but the high temperature Rust-Oleum paint that I used, I'll put a link down below, did not, for whatever reason. The grill looks absolutely amazing. I'll put those photos on screen so you can see it. The brisket last night went into this. I am painfully nervous because I do not want to turn in my man card, but we're going to see how this turned out. I think it's probably better than I think. But let me see if I can get this open. And this went in the oven last night at 1 o'clock. It pretty much came out today at 1 o'clock, so it's been in there forever. I'm going to see if at this temperature, if I could pick this up. Oh. I'm trying to let some of that drain before I put it on the cutting board. And we're going to start the slicing process. This is going to be super interesting because I have not done this in quite some time. So flat and point. I'm just going to cut slices along this way, which is against the grain. And then once I get about just a little bit halfway, I'm going to turn this at 90 degrees and start slicing that way. I might be able to save that liquid if I wanted for chili, but that's probably just going to get tossed. Let me put that aside, at least for the moment. An emergency out there? And then, because I'm left-handed, I think I'm going to turn this guy around. And I put all these cutting boards down in case this oozes. If it does, I didn't want it to get the counter completely dirty. There we go. It's the easiest way to grab that. And now I can slide it back over. There we go. We are going to see. I am, like I said, horribly nervous to figure out if I did this well or not. I will say that the temperature a couple times spiked to like 400 degrees, which is like way off the charts. But I checked it so frequently, I would spray the smoker box to like cool down the coals and let it do its thing without like overdoing it, basically. In the future, I might trim the fat off of the flat less. But I had a conversation with Cece about it, and I didn't think about this when I was getting everything ready. She doesn't tend to like bits of fat as much as I do, fat and connective tissue. She, when I told her about it, was actually happier, thinking she'll like this better because there's less direct fat on it. I'm going to go ahead and this little bit, slice that off. A little dry, but that's the end. I'm just going to slice that into little cubes if somebody wants it. And I am going to wait to withhold judgment. So, slices. It's a little dry. I'm going to slice it just a little bit thinner because it is dry. But this is also what they think of as the dry part, right? Now, I think either way it's going to get eaten, but I'm having to cut a little too forcefully through there for my taste. And let's try that. Let's get a slice out of there. It's still adhered. Well, I get to pull. So, nice little smoke ring, nice little bark. That's all. I think it's still a little too tough for my taste personally. Let me just slide these over and keep going. It's probably going to become more moist as I go over. And I'm just using a bread knife to cut this. I thought that would be easiest given my situation. And you have to understand also that I'm a purist. Like I want it to be perfect. And I think with brisket, that's going to take time. I'm hitting a little bit more fat right there. Aha! Now let's see. That's a little too much pull. Oh. Ooh. Good Lord. Now, definitely not as tender as I want, but the smoke is just pervades the brisket. I mean, it's just loaded with smoke. And you can see that little bit of work I'm putting in, like it shouldn't be that much. It should just slide through like it's almost butter. Keep going just a little bit more. Now we're almost getting to the next piece, and there's something about the bottom. The bottom is a little tougher. What do y'all think? I mean, I think it's super tasty. I'm gonna go a little bit further. I wanna see that next piece of muscle over the top. Now I used the prime because I wanted a little bit more safety doing this. There we go. Now it's starting to split. I'm gonna turn this. It's a little too dense. It needs more moisture. I don't think anybody's going to complain, but I don't think they're going to look at it and think it's the best brisket they've had. Let me try the ends there. Drier, but I expect that. The salt and pepper on the outside I was nervous about, thinking it might be too much. But when you think about it, there's no salt and pepper on the inside, so it's perfect as a crust. Well, let's go here. Now that's awful thin, but the fatty's a bit better. It's not quite as dry. I'm gonna move these over, but so far, really great. No complaints. I just think I can do better. That was a wonderful little fatty piece. I'm trying to slice it a little bit thinner so it's easier to pull apart. And I'm glad that this had a little bit more intramuscular fat. Oh. It's not going to win any awards. Well, let's start again. That was a thick one. Look at how big. Good Lord, have mercy. That was a little thicker. Now, what happens if you just cook a goddamn meteorite? Chili. I really think if you do too much and you just feel like you can't salvage it, I would definitely go towards chili. Who's calling me? Telemarketing. Hey, go away. Good Lord. It's got some connective tissue right there. And this piece is almost sliced off. Do you see how I'm having to muscle it to get it to cut? I think that's just a bit of a problem. That's not what you want in a brisket. And as always, this is to document. I think I'm just going to pull this off. This is always just to document what's going on and what I'm trying to figure out. It was like my tortillas. My tortillas were too dry. I'm going to do it again, but I feel like it's more instructional to almost mess it up and show that, as opposed to acting like I exactly know how to do everything, when smoking a brisket, of course, is an art form. There we go. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how the family treats these. I like that bit. My only complaint is that I don't think it's tender enough. And this is me just being a purist. I feel like it needs to be more tender than it is. There's a little fat cap right there. Oh. I actually think Cece is going to like this a little bit more than I do. And it's just because it's a little bit more lean. I'm not sure if the temperature regulation is the big thing in terms of making sure the smoker doesn't overheat at various points. I do not have a meat thermometer. I just wanted to eyeball this and see how it would go. But I am not unimpressed. I simply think I can do better than just this. And that's a little dry piece right there. Mixed. I definitely think I can do this better. I'm gonna have to do more research. The oaky flavor is awesome. No issues with the smoke level. The intramuscular fat has broken down. It's just not as juicy as I wanted. And I don't know what the shift is. When I put it in the pan last night, it's hard for me to judge, like a roast, whether it's done or not. I think it might be just a little overcooked. And again, I'm complaining about all of this meat. Absolutely amazing. All of this is going to get eaten. I'm going to go ahead and plate up Cece's mashed potatoes and her vegetables. I'll include some screenshots. Thank you guys for tuning in, and there's much more to come. We're going to sand down the old grill and paint it as well at some point, but I'll document that ongoing process. The before and after of the grill itself was amazing, and for me this was a big step to attach that smoker box and attempt a brisket. I'm gonna have to do more research. My suspicion is that I either smoked it a little too long at a higher temperature, or those temperature surges actually affected the outcome at the end. I would definitely, in my case, prefer the fatty of this. But listen, if you take this, and we talked about putting it in chili, if you want to dice this up, season it with a little barbecue sauce, and serve it as like on a sandwich, who's gonna complain? Like, this is an art form, and I think it's going to take time to get this absolutely perfect the way I would like it. And I'm really worth, or I think it's worth the time of going through the trouble of working at it, testing it, tweaking the formula again and again and again to see what the next brisket's going to be like. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to New Free Grill with Robert Gardner. SpongeBob. You're all better. You're like top shelf. Chrome and shiny.